1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the usual clave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. So let's say, how does it sound if I put it on 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's almost like you're splitting the grid. You're slowly cutting more slices into the grid until the resolution becomes so small that it just looks like a smooth picture.
Welcome to The Beat,
a podcast where we explore all things rhythm across different cultures and eras.
I'm Vanshmak,
I'm Uded Sur.
and we hope you enjoy this
I
conversation.
forgot to say that part, sorry.
And we hope you enjoy
enjoyed
and we hope you enjoy today's conversation.
Okay, this is Time Hero Hang. My name is Uded Sur. Welcome to everyone that's joining us today. With us today is a very special guest that we're so happy to have, Gilad Hekselman, that we call a real lifetime hero and guitar legend. I want to welcome Gilad and also turn over the mic to Vanshmak, who's going to say a few words as well, and we're going to begin.
Hey everyone, this is Vansh. Oded and I, we're both co-founders of Time Hero. I think you all know each other, but probably the new face here. I just wanted to say welcome, Gilad, to the Time Hero Hang. It's just really an honor to have you here, to have you kick off this series for us. So thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And really looking forward to this conversation and, hearing insights about how you approach your music, and I'm really excited about that. And also welcome to everyone else who's joined this hang. Um, and hopefully this will be insightful for everyone else as well. So back to you, Adit.
Great. So, as some of you may know, Time Hero is a game that's rooted in Indian classical music, and specifically rhythmic cadence that we call Tihai. And I think that's something that's very interesting to begin the conversation here today is maybe around this particular cadence, because I know that Gilad has familiarity with Indian classical music. Right, Gilad, if I'm not mistaken, over 20 years ago, both you and I studied Indian music with the same teacher, I think, back in Israel. And I just wonder, as a person that tried the game and also is familiar with the highs, do you have any kind of off the top of your head thoughts about this cadence? And did you ever, like, do you ever use it in your music nowadays or not at all, or in the past? I'm interested to hear.
I haven't used it compositionally, like predeterminedly, but I think that something about when I was in this study of Tihai and Tala in general, like it, there's a certain thing that hopefully becomes intuitive about it. So not every Tihai is like long composition, but it can just be like a way to aim your phrase towards an ending point. And that's definitely a part of composition, but also even more like a part of how I play and like how I phrase. Um, but I used to try to kind of like um, be able to improvise while using really long T highs, like sometimes like like several bars. I mean, I know there's really long ones sometimes, but like I'm talking about like medium-sized T highs. Um, and to be fair, like I don't think I've found a way to incorporate it in a jazz environment. And maybe the main reason is because like so much of playing jazz music is kind of about reacting to what's happening in the moment. So if you start a T high like bars before the end of the phrase, then you're not listening. You have to stay you still have to stay open to what's happening around you. So But at some point, I also took some lessons with Dan Weiss, and he was teaching me a bunch of T-highs. Um, and it's one of those things where it's like not like I don't do it in the same way that Indian classical musicians do, where it's an actual composition.
Sure.
But it just became a part of my psyche. And I sometimes I've surprised myself, like I'll start like what I think might be a T high, and it lands, you know. So I kind of I think what I got from it the most is a little bit of an intuition of how to feel that kind of rhythmic composition.
Yeah. Do you think there's other parts in the music where this type of intuition, or you use the word aim before, becomes maybe more abstract, but still kind of present in another way, in a harmonic
Hmm.
way, in a melodic way? Do you feel like there's any other expression of something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about it like that, but like even a harmonic cadence is, you know, like the most classic one. It's like 4-5-1 or 2-5-1, you know, that's or like flat 6, flat 7, 1. Like it's in threes. Like they like to come in threes
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah.
So in a way it makes sense. I think that there must be a link there. Um, but yeah, like I think most things that I practice, like spend time trying to understand. My goal eventually is to kind of forget about them and trust that whatever comes into the music intuitively does that, and whatever is not, it might be there in the subcurrent of my musical expression, something that is you can't quantify, but it's there.
I'm glad that you're saying that because that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you. Maybe I wanted to ask you this for 20 years, actually. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Opportunity now. But when I thought about today's conversation, I realized that so much of what you create as a musician sounds so intuitive. I think intuitive is one of the main words that I would use if I wanted to describe your music to someone.
Hmm.
I would use beautiful also as one of the first words, but intuitive. And I've heard you play live many times, and we also played together a few times. And I feel like when you create, there is this very rare and beautiful combination of something very well informed, very well thought through, something that really didn't happen by chance in that sense of the word. But at the same time, it's never center stage in the way that we say, you know, look, I practice this. I'm so good at this. I really worked this out. And look, like what you described before, if you're playing at the high that starts at seven bars before, then you're not listening. So as we're talking about rhythm specifically, but maybe not just, I wonder how you think about these things, how you develop your body of knowledge as an artist, and then, like you said, forget about it. Because
Hmm.
sometimes we find, as musicians, I think, that in the process of learning and practicing, there's a certain affinity we develop with the material, and then we just kind of want to put it in a little pocket and take it out when it's time to play. And
Yeah.
and we usually see that that's actually not doesn't have that spark anymore, and it's a great wisdom, I think, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to forget about it.
Some people are really great at that. Some people like I've played with artists who are really great at delivering that pre-prepared thing that they just wait for the right moment and boom, you know,
Uh-huh.
they nail it.
Yeah.
And audience go nuts, you know, it's like
Uh-huh.
so exciting. And there's a beauty to that. I mean, it's not something that I don't have appreciation for. I don't think I'm very good at that. Like maybe that's why I kind of went the other way. Like I and it's really a matter of taste. And again, like it doesn't define what music is good or not in my view. Like there's plenty of music that I really enjoy that has this predetermined aspect. So of course,
Interesting.
pop and rock music,
Right.
but also within jazz. Like you know, if you listen to like three Ahmad Jamal recordings of Poinciana,
Mm.
uh, you'll hear that, there's a lot of improvisation, but there's a lot of predetermined stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's there's no right or wrong for that, but I think for me, like it's a little bit more exciting. It's a little bit more exciting way of playing, um, to kind of like put myself out there and take a risk of not sounding like super macho, like nailing it,
Mhm.
uh, for the hopeful, return of like something happening by chance that is really in the moment and truly exciting in a way that's like that 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 has that feeling that I'm really after anytime I play.
Hmm. Was there a moment in your kind of journey where these things started happening more often?
Which the moments of like intuition.
Yeah, like something unexpected or something happening in the moment.
There's one thing that comes to mind, like when I was still in Israel and I had this trio with the Ronti Rosh and the Max Vater,
Mm.
and we played quite a bit, but we started making jokes at each other on like while playing music, like that. I think it was I was just figuring out sort of how to play jazz. And but then there was this extra element of like we were starting to like have like little inside jokes, like play a phrase that from a song that we talked about earlier, or like this kind of thing where like
Right.
um, we were getting a kick out of like surprising or making each other laugh.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that was the start of a process for me that was really like had this feeling of like music is about the moment and about like kind of
Mm.
conversation like that.
That's really interesting. Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. There's a lot of music that does deliver very beautifully stuff that is pre-composed or predetermined in another way, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, that's true. Um, I think that in a way, again, just to take us back to the context for a second, when you play Time Hero, the game, um, there is a sense of everyday newty high is there, and you kind of study that high. You develop a relationship with that cycle, but that is not to say that you need to take that literally and
Mm.
insert that in a certain musical context. And maybe that's true for everything that we're learning in improvised music, right? Because there's so much to learn. And it's like a language. So when you and I are talking now, we know a lot of words, but if we say something that we prepared in advance to say, it's going to be like, it's very interesting to actually have a conversation with someone in that sense. And so,
It's a little bit like ingesting food or something.
yeah,
Like you don't think like this piece of calcium goes to my left arm and this piece
right,
of like vitamin B goes here or there. You just
right,
you ingest it and trust that it goes into your system and knows where to go.
right,
And the parts of
exactly.
it you don't need leave your body too. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. So I'm just wondering in other aspects of your playing and other things that you also clearly spent so much time with, like harmony, to choose an example. Do you also find that there is kind of like this Hemingway quote? How does it go? Write drunk, edit sober, I think, something like that. Uh, do you find that you have time to study and look at things and explore, and then a completely different time in which you create and kind of forget about it? Or is there more of a mixed approach between these two things?
I think it's probably mixed. I think that there's like it is important for me to not bring the practice room onto the stage or into like an actual playing situation. Because I don't think anybody cares about what I practice.
Yeah.
They care about the music that I can make in the moment. I would like to hope that's true. But there's a part of um, my practice that is dedicated to quote unquote being drunk. Like there's a part of my practice that like I wanna um, I wanna have a like a childlike aspect and just kind of explore as if I was just playing solo on a stage, and then because I want to create like a physical memory of how it feels to
Mm,
do something kind of with this innocent curiosity. And
yeah,
I don't want to expect myself to remember how to do it only when I get on stage. Like I want to have some familiarity with that feeling beforehand. So that's in the practice room. And on the stage, like there is like a little element of like there might be like a thought in my head all of a sudden saying like, oh, the thing that I worked on, let me try it now. There might be like a little bit, but
yeah,
it's because it's fun. It's because like
right,
I go like, and when it works, then it really imprints that ability in you. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you work on
mhm,
things and it never get make it into your playing, but
right,
when you do it in an exciting situation and it works, or somebody even like says, "Ooh," or like, like
right,
there's like a emotional
yeah,
extra thing to it, then it really can stick better. And vice versa. Like if you do something and you go like, "Oh, I wonder if I can do the thing that I now know how to do," and like you try and you fail, then it's a great sign that you haven't worked on it hard enough. That there's
yeah,
still work
yeah,
to be done.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's a little bit like I don't want to give it percentages, but let's say like
yeah,
the majority of what's happening live is like the opposite of what Hemingway said. Like it's a little bit like that's all drunk. That's like there's you know like Samuel Hill was saying it like, nicely. He said to me, I took lessons with him, great piano player, Samuel Hill, an organ player,
yeah,
and he said like you're when you're practicing, like you're both a child and a parent.
mm,
Like you're like, oh, I wonder what happens if I touch this. I wonder what happens if I pour this into that. Like you have this innocent curiosity,
yeah,
but you also the parent is like, oh, don't do that, don't touch that. You're gonna burn yourself, or all
right,
that kind of stuff. But then when you go to the gig, you're just a child, you're just a
mm.
child in the sense your kid is too young to for you to know this, but like there's this thing that goes like when you start sending your kids out
Yeah,
to the world, like you kind of want to hope that you gave them the right values and education to make the right choices by themselves without you having to monitor them.
right,
That's really the work at home, right?
yeah,
So in the same way with music, it's like you want to trust a child on stage
mm-hmm,
that you gave it enough strong education and
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and, and values and intuition to just do their thing
yeah.
and they'll be cool.
I love that so much. The parent and the child, and both are you. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed, my child is just starting to grab things now. He's not even 6 months old. So I'm not sure about the values part yet,
Mm.
but I can see for sure the sense of curiosity that is you can see so early on, right? And just looking at the world in that sense of like, wow, what is that? Like basically all of it. I find that babies kind of always have this expression on their face of like, wow,
Totally.
basically, basically with every single moment. And in that sense, I feel that I'm learning from that, right? Including
Hmm.
as a musician.
Yep.
Uh, and that reminds me a little bit of Indian classical music specifically, because there is this sense of awe from the very basic building blocks of music, like an interval. You're going to have the tanpura that gives you the tonality of the piece, which is the tone that we use in the music, and the musician is going to, in a way, kind of introduce the notes one by one, and it's very ceremonial. And we're going to be like just listening to a major second or a minor third or whatever it may be that we hear between the musician and the tanpura, and we will just be kind of feeling that interval between these two notes, and that's enough. That's enough to celebrate for kind of a few moments in the concert. Um, and something else that's interesting is this quote that people keep repeating in Indian classical music, which is freedom within the discipline. And this attitude where there is so much to learn, it takes more than a lifetime. So there's a belief in reincarnation. You have to make a lot of lifetimes as a musician to really become good, and a lot to learn. But when you learn all of that, you find a type of freedom that is different from the type of freedom that is absolute. The type of freedom where we say, okay, you can just play anything and there's no rules at all. That is a type of freedom. And of course, that's a very beautiful type of freedom. But there's another type of freedom that comes when you have a lot of rules, actually. And that's why we say freedom within the discipline. There's some type of infinity to that freedom that is different from the infinity of the other freedom, if that makes sense.
Totally. And even the other freedom is not free of laws of physics and
Right,
our perception of time and space.
right. Yeah, that's true too.
So even that is limited in many ways.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's true. Um, have you experimented with that type of freedom in your playing?
Yeah, of course. I think a big part of my practice is like finding like little limitations or very specific like muscles that I try to work on. But I mean, listen, like I mean, the music I play, it has an harmonic context, and there's definitely like a framework to it. It's not
Sure.
a lot of there's a lot of avant-garde that would just the kind of the mission is to throw all that out of the window, like to not have those rules.
Right.
And then they probably fall into their own rules eventually, but then maybe they try to break them again.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think everything is within. ev- I think everything is within like a framework eventually. Like
Right.
it just depends how far out you zoom.
I
Um,
like that. Yeah. So, for example, if you think of free jazz or the shape of jazz to come or all of these Ornette albums,
mhm.
um, then we can say there is this strong concept of freedom, right? But it is also set within artistic and cultural
Yeah,
context of swing,
totally.
of harmony, of all of those things.
Yeah, yeah. I think that a lot of the reason why music like Ornette works, at least in my view, is that even though it's so free and like of the connection like to harmony in many ways, um, like there are certain elements in it that are so earthy, so basic to music, the blues,
Hmm.
um, contrast of rhythm, contrast of sound, like that. There's so many things that are like such strong elements that it kind of makes it work, like
Right.
and Ornette is kind of a link to everything that comes after, which I'm no great expert at, but like some people play avant-garde in a way that's like Ornette sounds like traditional jazz.
Yeah.
So so it's like, but you have to go through something to get somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I have a ton more questions to ask, but I'm gonna take a pause here and maybe allow Vansh to introduce something to the conversation. Vansh, would you like to go ahead?
Wow, no, I was just really enjoying listening to all very insightful um, conversation. And I don't know if I can add anything, but one thing that came to mind was just handling, like how you said you intuit, and that's sort of your aim to intuit. practice things to an extent where it fits intuitively in your actual live performance rather than you wanting to predetermine things that, okay, I'm going to play this over here. And I find that to be a lot more like vulnerable form of playing where you're kind of really putting yourself out there, and which also comes with, I guess, things not working out sometimes. Like the eye not landing on one or where you intended
Right.
it to be. And like, oh, now I have to handle it not landing there.
Just
So, and I guess there are other forms of it in a more jazz context as well. So I guess my question is like, how do you handle things not working out the way you had intended or you had hoped when you were
mhm.
beginning a thought intuitively? This is where it'll go. Maybe it won't. Do you get? I'm sure there were moments in your career where you that put threw you off a little bit, and now you're just really good at nothing throws you off. So
And that's
something
I
around
get
those
I get
lines.
thrown off on a daily basis.
Yeah, so
Um,
yeah, that was my just how do you think about that and how do you handle that on stage?
yeah, I don't think I have a very deep answer besides like you just get up on your feet and like go from there, you know, like if you try to do a thing and it fails, um, you know, at my best days, I would say like I take it with humor, like I just kind of laugh at myself and move on. Um, but also like humor, but also kind of like maybe if something happens regularly, like I always play the wrong chord on a certain spot, or like um, you know, it can be any level of criticism. It can be deeper stuff too, like you're not listening enough, or like your time is not steady, anything like that. You know, it's like when I was younger, I used to kind of like get really mad at myself and kind of like you know, be bummed if I played a bad gig.
Mhm.
Um, and at some point, I realized that it's actually not serving me or the music, because like that feeling of like something is not working out. It comes from a very important part of being an artist, which is to have the ability to look at what you do and say like, I want this to be different or better to you. And it's only your own you're the artist, so you choose you decide what's good enough and what's better and what's worse. Um, and that the origin of this feeling is really important to be a good artist. In order to be a good artist, you have to have this mechanism of like, this is not quite there yet. Like I want this to be better. Like I want to work on a thing. Um, but it's only if you actually take that feeling and do something with it. Something about saying like I sounded terrible, or like I suck, or like all of those bad mantras that I used to say to myself, like it doesn't help you get better. It just makes you sad. But
Yeah.
if you go and say like you know, here are the things that I need to deal with. Let's now try to think of a creative way to try to deal with those things.
Mhm.
That's that's a really you know, strong relationship with that feeling. It's the same feeling, but there's just different ways to interpret it, or to do something with it. So yeah. So anyway, but you know, I think this relates to your question. Like sometimes I try something and I stumble, and then you know, I just try to take it with humor and try to learn from it.
Got it. Got it.
This connects to another question that we had, that we kind of thought about asking everyone that's going to be a guest on our podcast, uh, which is specifically about rhythm. If there was ever a moment where you came to a session or a concert, and someone else maybe wrote the music, and the rhythm was just so complex for one reason or another, and you just felt this, I don't know, maybe there's a name for this feeling, maybe there's a Hemingway quote about that too, just don't know it, of like, oh, I just don't, how am I even going to do this, not to mention how am I going to be creative on this musical platform.
Hmm.
um, Did you ever have this feeling, or was rhythm always just like water flowing out of the tap for you, and you never felt that at all?
It's both a little bit. Like rhythm was like intuitive for me in many ways, but there's definitely moments that I could think of, especially um, definitely Ari Honig's music. Like I play with, in case any of you don't know him, I play with a great drummer here in New York called Ari Honig, and he's like a really intense rhythmic thinker. So um, yeah, I mean, he wrote tunes that took me forever to learn how to play. It's either because like he uses tricks to make things sound like other things momentarily, and
Mm.
then go back to the previous thing, and unless you really know how to hear a certain rhythm, like you have no chance to survive. So that kind of stuff, but also he would write stuff in meters that I never dealt with. Like I remember he wrote one tune in 11/8, and just like I had to spend many hours in the practice room just trying to hear it. I mean, I could play the composition pretty easily, but like to actually improvise on it was challenging.
Mm.
So, and I have different ways that I approach it, but generally speaking, um, a big part of it is like, like there's this when you play in an odd meter, um, let's separate those two things. Okay, so there's playing in odd meters that I'm not familiar with, and for that, my process is basically trying to find as many things that might make me feel shaky on the odd meter, and then trying to work on them specifically. So, for example, if I'm working on 11/8, like I'll try to hear the half notes cross rhythm with that. So, um,
Okay, so
you
by
know,
half notes you mean just like a
like
fall type of thing?
say again?
You should go ahead if you're about to
Yeah,
say
it's
something.
basically like here's a song that the clave is ta 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 ta. So be able to hear ta 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 like that, okay? And then the quarter note, the dotted quarter note, ta 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 that kind of thing. So trying to find things that, first of all, he might actually do, and knowing Ari now for so long, he'll just pull those things out
Yeah.
of the hat, and you're like holding on for dear life. But also, in the same way that we talked before, like a lot of it is not so you can play it. Like my goal is not to be able to play this specific rhythm on this specific meter. But my goal is to feel comfortable. And like the more I work on those different things, like they just kind of, if I ever want to play them, they're there. But it's mostly that I feel comfortable in that environment.
Yeah.
So that's that's meter practice for me. Or like I'll move the clave around. This one might be hard for me to demonstrate because I don't know if I ever done that. But like um, shifting clave, like for example, if like in five you have dun, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the kind of the common clave in jazz for 5/4. Be
Mm.
dun, dun, no, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So dotted quarter note, quarter, quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the usual clave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So let's say, how does it sound if I put it on two? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
And all
So
the
the
different.
clave itself starts on the second beat, right?
Exactly, yeah. Like just hearing different things like that. Like, and the more things like that I collect on a meter, the stronger the general um, ability I'll have on that meter will be.
Yeah. Yeah. So they all add up to the small kind of
Exactly.
back end.
It's almost like you're splitting the grid. Like
Yeah.
you're slowly cutting more slices into the grid until the resolution becomes
Yeah.
so small
Yeah.
that it just looks like a smooth picture.
That's really cool. Um, Do you ever visualize any of those things or rhythm in general?
That's a good question. I don't know. Like it's possible that like I'll like I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know if I visualize things like that. I guess I do, and I just never thought about it. Like
Interesting.
there's a feeling like, for example, if something is a cross rhythm, and like one time it would land on like the beat before the one, and one time it would end like on the eighth note before one, and one time it would end on the eighth note after one.
Uh-huh.
There's a sometimes if I'm trying to remember it, I'll remember like one end, or like a four has a feeling of like it's like square,
Okay. Oh, wait. So a four is a
like
square.
not a square shape. Like it feels like it's on the line, like
Uh-huh.
I'm making something on the line.
Okay. Okay.
But I never even thought about it until you asked.
No, that's great because I'm just very interested in visualization of rhythm.
Do you use a lot of it?
I mean, I had to when I started playing those very long, very slow meters in Indian classical music, and like you, I was more comfortable with these what we call claves, maybe. So if you would play a seven, you would kind of feel this texture, right, of like tom ka tom 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 ka tom tom 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1, and that sort of thing. But I had no experience with cycles that we find in Indian classical music, where you have a 10-beat cycle, and it goes 1 2,
Right.
right? And so okay,
So,
wait, or how am I
so
even going
what
to?
kind of visualization did you use?
So I started developing these shapes that are now the shapes that you see in Time Hero, actually.
Oh, cool.
And that's where it all comes from. So when Vanch and I started kind of talking, and I started teaching Vanch the shapes that I used to visualize these rhythms, at a certain point in time, we had an idea to make an app that would sort of use that. So that's where it all comes from. But these shapes are kind of an attempt to give this cycle a visual life, if you will. And it's inspired by these visual meditation vehicles like mandalas and yantras, and these shapes that you kind of look at when you practice meditation. And the shapes themselves kind of communicate something, but also represent something. So yeah, so that's where it comes from for me. And I remember looking at my teacher, Hari Prasad Chaurasia, playing the bansuri, and feeling like I asked him actually several times if he visualizes things, and I'm not sure that I know if he does or not, but it always felt like he just knows where he is at every given point in a very effortless way. For me, it was not effortless at all. I found it very not counterintuitive, but I definitely had to work on it. Um, so that's me, and that's why I ask. I'm very curious about how other people visualize or not.
Yeah, I don't think that I really visualize. Definitely not in an aware way.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned this one exercise where you move the clave from one place to another. Just curious if there's other exercises or other kind of spaces that you sit in when it comes to rhythm on a regular basis. Um,
So like we've discussed on the different like things during this conversation, like I always want to move it from the practical to the intuitive. Um, but many times like it starts with me being like there's certain things that would throw me off in a rhythm, and then what started becoming my process first more intuitively and then eventually became more methodic is like like trying to understand in as verbal terms as possible what it is that throws me off in a rhythm. Like if just to give you a classic example, like if you try to do dotted quarter notes over 4/4, okay, so we have like 1 2 3 4 1 uh 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 uh. So like if that was a challenging rhythm for me, I would say like, okay, I have to, like, let's try the first bar and see how long I can go. 1 2 3 4 uh 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 let's say this was a confusing moment to me, okay? So then I would say, okay, end of 1, like just like grab a little bit more, just a tiny bit more than the last time I did it. Okay, so now I can get to that second bar and know it's on the end of 1.
Right.
So when I'm there, my CPU is not throttling. Like I'm not like in the survival mode, because I'm ready for it. I go like, okay, when that comes, end of 1. And then I keep going. So let's say this moment is confusing because it's on the beat, and I think it should be less obvious. And sometimes the obvious things in rhythm, they're the hardest because you don't expect them to be easy. So like, remember, it's the easy one, okay? And then you kind of slowly get into like, but it was very verbal, very analytical. Then I can test myself to see, like a cycle like that, that after 3 times it lands back on 1. So I can kind of wait for that 1 after 3 times, see if I was right, So that's a good practical way to know, like, to work on this, like just back on 1. So if this was 5/4, same rhythm, be the same process. So 1 2 3 4 5, dun 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 dun. So after 3 times it's back on 1. But it can be really any, I'll try to find something that maybe is challenging for me, like let's say 4/4, and I'm gonna do 5 triplets. So so okay, not so challenging. I'll do, let's do 7 triplets over 5, then 2 3 4 5. So 1 2 3 4 5. So now, for example, you didn't see this. For you, it seemed like I was right, but for me, I knew that I was not hearing it in 5/4. Like so like verbally say, like, okay, the thing that's challenging for me here is like to hear it in 5/4. So maybe I'll spend a second just getting into the 5/4 world. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. I was there for a bar and a half, and then I kind of started believing something. Yes, and I'm actually not doing 7, I'm doing 9s, right? So so let's do it again. So again, I wasn't entirely in 5. And rhythm, like, I find that not being sure is being wrong. Like being uncertain has a feeling that I don't like in rhythm. Like I like the feeling of, like, I mean, not that there's no room for mistakes, just meaning like lack of confidence doesn't sound good with rhythm. So 2 3 4 5. No, I wasn't there. 1 2 3 4 5. 2 3 4 5. No, and I'm not doing the 7 again, right? I'm doing 9s.
There was just 1 9 at the end, I think.
Oh, okay. So stuff like that, and then you know I'll probably slow it way down, and I'll analyze like, okay, here it lands here, like find little key moments that could help me survive, until the point where I don't need to survive, when I just hear the rhythm, like any rhythm like that, like when I play it, like I never think even what the rhythm is, like I just play it because that's what I'm hearing. So it has to become intuitive. It can't be in this, you know,
Yeah.
stay in the cerebral world.
Right. It's so interesting to see you go through that, and also what you said about certainty and kind of not being sure, having a sound. In a way, maybe we can even say that when you, even if your timing is not perfect, if you are certain about it in the sense that intentionally you know where you are, that has a certain sound that is convincing, right? And I wonder if I can ask you in regards to that. There's some types of rhythm, swing being one of them, that are all about ambiguity in a way, right? Because it is about that in between space that is neither here nor there. Because just for maybe listeners that are not familiar, so in swing, we say it's not that we divide the beat into two halves. We don't say ta, 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 ta. And also, we're not saying that the beat is divided into three parts, like takete, 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 takete. We're saying something that is somewhere in between those two worlds.
And you
And
choose your placement.
and right, and every person has a specific like point on that good. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because we need that type of certainty and that conviction when it comes to rhythm. And at the same time, there's also ambiguity in rhythm that gives it beauty.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it ambiguity. Just it's just in individualism, you know. It's like yeah. I mean, when I hear Freddie Hubbard playing eighth notes,
Yeah.
there's no ambiguity. Like
Right.
it's very clear where it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like when I hear Satchmo or when I hear Train, like they all have their signature of and of course it's not like every eight notes is the same, right? It's like
Yeah.
there's flexibility there, but there's a general tendency. Even when an eighth note is even, it's not really even. You know, there's always like a inaccuracies, and that's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, I mean, and also like the pulse is still a pulse. You know, then that's not ambiguous. Like how you divide the subdivision, I don't feel introduces so much ambiguity if there's a strong pulse behind it.
Yeah.
Like just a feeling of quarter note.
Yeah. I hear you. Maybe the right word for it is not ambiguity, but that it's a moment that doesn't have a name in strict musical terms.
But that's everything too. I mean, isn't that like even what's even is not even, you know? It's like there's an infinity of chaos before and after every note. So
there's an infinity of chaos before and after every note.
yeah, it's like there's endless like subdivisions that exist within that space. It's just
Right.
that they happen fast, so we maybe not notice them. But you know, if you ever slew a solo down, if you ever use like a slower downer,
Yeah.
to hear like a solo or a song,
Yeah.
you notice things that you'd never notice otherwise. But like there's, you know, an infinity of information there, like in terms of the placement of the rhythm.
Right.
So it's not, you know, it's all kind of it's all a big chaos in many ways.
Very beautiful thought. Okay, I think that we can really go on forever. I just want to maybe take a moment to, speaking of chaos before and after every note, I just want to take a moment to maybe see if anyone else has a question.
Okay, I can go. Gilad, so I was really really digging your how you kind of analytically break down a rhythmic cycle or something that you're trying to really build a lot of intuition with. I was wondering, do you also go the other route of rather than breaking it down, maybe starting with like a melody that fits that cycle and then using that as the mechanism to now explore spaces, but using the underlying melody to keep you anchored on what the meter is or what the cycle is, the time signature is. Is that also something that you explore?
So I think I know what you mean. I've done a little bit of like yeah, like when you hear like an odd meter, like there's hearing all the subdivisions and all the possibilities that are like mathematical, and then just hearing the distance from one till the next one, like feel like knowing what the distance feel, and like being able to be more loose within that space. Yeah, sure. Like I would put like a metronome just on ones or every two ones, you know, kind of like set the tempo and then like put it only on every couple of ones, to kind of both work on my ability to hear the time strongly by myself, but also to develop that feeling of like I can also be loose in the middle as long as I can hear it from one to one.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of I always think that a lot of what we play is like a little bit of like fear of time, fear of silence, which are related. Like when I find myself playing too many notes, I usually have to kind of like recognize that I'm doing that, and then like if I have to ask myself why am I doing it, it's maybe a little bit of it's coming out of fear. It's coming out of like the fear that if I didn't fill up the subdivisions, like
Lose track.
I think subconsciously I have this fear that I'll get lost or something, or that I wouldn't be holding the time, you know.
Yeah.
But a big part of my practice was about like letting go of that fear and working on the ability to hear time internally, and be able to be off the grid. Like when you really feel confident about time, then that's when you can really kind of go off the grid and still feel comfortable and not feel like you're at risk. So I spent a lot of time trying to like trying to work on hearing like a tempo with further clicks.
Mm-hmm.
Basically spending the time between clicks, but not compensating on it with like more information or like more physical movement, but like actually trying to internally feel the pulse. So kind of like to take away from the physical experience of time and like bringing it, making the internal stronger.
You talked before about taking the time to practice or maybe just be with something that just feels good or just is expressive as far as music is concerned, so that you don't only experience that on stage. And even I think that you spoke about it in this very interesting terms, that you said to see what it feels like physically to be in that space. And I wonder if, when it comes to what you described just now, to feeling the rhythm internally and not have to kind of get into the grid to know that you're safe, does that also have a physical sensation or something that you kind of experience in this way?
Totally, yeah. Yeah, it's in the simplest terms, it's a feeling of calm. It's like yeah, it's just there's a lot of like looseness in that when you get there, when you're truly feeling the pulse inside and not depending on like playing 8 notes or 16 notes or you know tapping your foot or like holding your breath or any of that kind of physical marcations of time, but there's a certain looseness to it that just feels very calm. And it helps to develop a practice of that at home, because that's actually kind of like a little rescue thing when I play live. Like I've been familiar with this for a long time. So like when I play live, if I feel the first thing I feel is the physical formation of this. Like before I recognize that I'm nervous or that I'm, that I'm fearful or whatever. The first thing I'll notice is like, oh, my hand is is pulsating like for no reason, or like my breath is not regular, or my foot is doing something, and then that brings me to like, oh, just stop playing for a second and relax. And that brings me back to feel the time better when I'm relaxed like that. I mean, I think anybody here who's an active musician can recognize that like nervousness is the opposite of good time. Like
the good quotes are just they just keep coming. That's just amazing.
One-liners are amazing.
Yeah, really are. There's so many snippets that we can use here for like to make a short clip from this conversation.
I think in the next podcast you can quote Gilad instead of Hemingway.
Yeah, instead of Hemingway, I'm going to quote Gilad. Yeah, last time we had Gilad here, and he said that nervousness is the opposite of good time.
On many levels too. It's like it's the opposite of good musical time, but it's also an opposite of having a good time.
That's true too. Yeah, it's very poetic. Like
another one. There you go.
So definitely, I would recommend to anybody who's an active musician to kind of having a practice of like calming down within the practice room.
Yeah.
So you can know what that feels like.
I really love that this is where our conversation unfortunately has to end, but I just love this last note as a sum total to musical and rhythmical study and mastery even, I would say. So thank you so much, Gilad, for joining us.
Thank you. Yes, this was fun.
It's been so great to hear your thoughts about everything. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gilad. It was wonderful.
And congrats on the ad. Congrats on the awesome ad. I enjoy it, and my son enjoys it too.
Yeah, that's so cool. So your son still plays the game sometimes?
It's been a second, but we gotta get back to it. Yeah. When we were in it, like he would ask me to do it, and he was good. He was like,
I remember
first and second level, he was doing good.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing on the leaderboard your results. Now there's new types of tihais there, so you can check it out. It's a lot of fun. There's like, for example, a cipher tihai, which means that you get to see the first and last part of the tihai, and you have to guess where the second one is.
Oh, cool! That's nice.
And stuff like that. So
it's like an equation, and you have to fill in the.
I guess so.
Missing part.
You could say that, yeah. And there's a few other parts. Maybe he would like it.
Okay, I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. And,
thanks, guys.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for attending.
Okay. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
We hope you enjoyed today's conversation.
The Beat is a podcast by Time Hero, a rhythm game for everyone. Available on the App Store and Google Play Store.
This is Vanshmak.
And this is Oded Sur.
See you in the next episode.